Hey, Alicia. Thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
Hi, Jared. Always a pleasure.
And a very warm welcome to all of you listening to Vibrations and Manifestations.
hmm
Right now, as you listen to this, statistically speaking, roughly 66% of the people walking past you on the street assume you cannot be trusted.
Which is just, it's wild to actually hear that out loud.
It is, yeah. If you sit down on a subway or, wait in line at a coffee shop, the default assumption of the majority of the population around you is just straight suspicion.
Just a baseline of distrust.
Exactly. And we're going to look at exactly why that is today. But first, speaking of trust, I had a moment this morning that I think perfectly captures a very specific modern mood.
Oh, no. What happened?
Well, I decided I was finally going to organize my desk drawer. You know the one.
Oh, yeah. The psychological shadow realm of the home office.
Precisely. The drawer where good intentions go to die.
Yeah.
So I was determined to get my life together, one compartment at a time. And what did I find at the very back?
Let me guess, loose batteries?
Close. 6 broken pens that I'd inexplicably saved. A charging cable to a proprietary device I haven't owned since maybe 2018. And a protein granola bar that expired in November of 2022.
Oh, my gosh. A vintage granola bar.
Right. And I just stood there looking at it, realizing how much literal garbage I hold on to simply because my brain is whispering, just in case you might need it someday.
That is incredibly relatable. And actually, it's a brilliant physical metaphor for what I've been noticing lately, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar, albeit slightly more existential realization this week.
Okay.
So I was out to dinner with a friend, and we were talking about the absolute gauntlet that is modern dating.
Oh, a gauntlet is the right word.
It really is. And it hit me that navigating relationships right now has taught me more about my own nervous system than any clinical text ever could. Because relationships really are just mirrors with opinions.
Mirrors with opinions. Wow. That is terrifyingly accurate.
Right. And what I realized is that we do the exact same thing emotionally that you just did with your desk drawer.
Hold on to the broken stuff.
Exactly. We hold on to old defenses, old reactions, outdated assumptions about people. We basically stockpile our own version of broken pens and expired granola bars inside our nervous system, just in case we need to protect ourselves from getting hurt again.
Man, that's so true. We hold on to the clutter because we just don't trust the future to provide what we need.
Yeah, and it takes up so much space.
So much space. Both the physical clutter in my office and the emotional clutter in our bodies. Which is actually the perfect entry point for you, the listener, into what we are exploring in this deep dive.
Yes.
I want you to picture a scenario. It's Tuesday night. You open your phone to figure something incredibly simple out. Maybe you're looking up, a new magnesium supplement, or you're trying to understand a new zoning policy in your neighborhood.
Something that should be straightforward.
Right. So you read one opinion, it's articulate, it cites data, it makes total sense, you feel informed.
You've got it figured out.
Right. Then you swipe. You read another opinion from a different expert, completely debunking the first one, calling it dangerous even.
And suddenly you're doubting yourself.
Exactly. So you swipe again. A third person is yelling about how both of the previous people are paid actors. And 10 minutes later, what is happening in your body?
I can feel it just talking about it.
Your stomach is tight, your jaw is locked, you feel more stuck, more confused, and you are second-guessing your own judgment far more than before you picked up the phone.
And that physical sensation right there, I want us to get very granular about this today, because that tightness in your chest isn't just a metaphor.
It's not just feeling overwhelmed.
No, it isn't a lack of mental clarity. That is the literal biological sensation of too many inputs competing at once. It's your nervous system hitting a massive overload of threat detection.
Yeah.
So welcome to our deep dive into what we are calling the Trust Recession.
The Trust Recession. The core question we are trying to answer in this deep dive is really, why is distrust spreading everywhere like a contagion?
It
used to be we'd look at specific situations and ask, can I trust this particular person? But now we're looking at the entire world and asking, can I trust anyone?
And our mission today isn't just to validate that exhaustion or dissect the noise. We aren't here to just complain about the state of the world.
Right. There's enough of that already.
Exactly. The mission is to help you understand why distrust is an active nervous system state. It's a state that physically and neurologically blocks your ability to manifest, to create, and to receive the life you actually want.
It builds a wall.
It does. We are going to explore how to rebuild trust, starting from the ground up with yourself, without becoming naive, passive, or disconnected from your own intuition.
So let's start by mapping the anatomy of this recession, because if you want to understand why your body contracts when you're just scrolling through a news feed, you have to look at the atmosphere we are all breathing.
You have to look at the environment.
Right. We are currently living through a systemic, widespread withdrawal of confidence from almost every pillar of society. It's institutions, it's the media, it's leaders, local communities, and ultimately it bleeds right into how we view ourselves.
The way I conceptualize this is that trust is social oxygen.
Oh, I like that. Social oxygen.
Yeah, because when trust is present in an environment, life moves smoothly. It's effortless. You don't even think about it, just like you don't think about breathing when the air is clean.
You just exist in it.
Right. You buy a product, you trust it works, you read a headline, you trust it accurately reflects the event, you have a disagreement with a partner, and you trust the foundation of the relationship will survive the argument.
You don't have to spend brain calories evaluating the safety of the floor before you take a step.
Exactly. But when that social oxygen disappears, the atmosphere becomes thick. Every single interaction costs more energy.
You're constantly scanning.
Everything requires a background check. Every conversation has this invisible subtext of what is their real motive?
And the data shows us exactly how depleted this oxygen is right now. Let's look at the numbers. Gallup recently reported that trust in mass media has hit an astonishing new low.
It's pretty bleak.
It really is. Only 28% of Americans say they have a great deal or a fair amount of trust in newspapers, television, and radio to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly.
Wow. 28%.
Think about the gravity of that. Nearly three-quarters of the population operates under the baseline assumption that the information they receive about reality is fundamentally flawed or manipulated.
And it extends far beyond just the media ecosystem, too.
Yeah.
Pew research shows that currently just 17% of Americans trust the federal government to do what is right just about always or most of the time.
17%. That is wild.
But the most heartbreaking statistic, the one that really anchors this deep dive, is the interpersonal data. Pew also found that only 34% of people say most people can be trusted.
So the vast majority of us are walking around assuming the person standing next to us in line is not trustworthy.
Exactly.
Before we dig into the biology of that, I need to pause and make something explicitly clear to you, the listener. We are sharing data about political and institutional distrust from these sources, but we are not taking sides.
No, absolutely not.
We are not endorsing any specific political viewpoint, whether that's right-wing or left-wing, nor are we validating any ideological stance regarding these institutions. We are strictly impartially reporting the data from the source material to illustrate the broader societal climate of distrust.
That is a crucial distinction.
Right. The point of this deep dive isn't to debate who is right or wrong in the political arena. The point is to examine the atmospheric pressure of distrust itself.
Because we are looking at the psychological and energetic toll of living in that atmosphere, regardless of who caused it.
Okay, but I have to push back here a little bit. Let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, go for it.
If the world is actually giving us real, measurable reasons to be distrustful, like if the data says institutions are failing, if media algorithms are actively designed to sensationalize, if we have a history of public figures letting us down, isn't contracting my energy exactly what I should do?
That's the logical leap, right?
Yeah, I mean, why shouldn't I be in a defensive crouch? Isn't distrust just the most intelligent survival skill for the modern era?
It is the most logical question you could ask, and it's the exact trap so many of us fall into. It absolutely feels like intelligence.
It feels like you're just being smart.
Right. But we have to look at the mechanics of how the brain works, particularly the reticular activating system, or the RAS. This is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through.
Because otherwise we'd be overwhelmed.
Completely. When we talk about manifestation or creating the life you want, the RAS is the biological engine behind it.
Right, because your brain processes millions of bits of information a second, but you are only consciously aware of a tiny fraction of it.
Yes. Your RAS decides what gets through the filter based on what you tell it is
Yeah.
important.
Oh, that's key.
It is. If your nervous system's default setting is chronic distrust, if you are constantly whispering to your brain, prove it first, or what's the catch, or everyone is lying, you are programming your RAS to exclusively scan for threats and betrayal.
So even if an incredible opportunity is right in front of you, you literally might not see it.
You won't see it, or you will immediately dismantle it to find the hidden trap. Chronic distrust creates a massive energetic block.
Because your energy is directed elsewhere.
Exactly. You might deeply desire abundance or a loving relationship, vibrant health, a new career, but you cannot receive an opportunity if your hands are curled into fists to protect yourself.
Wow. You cannot receive an opportunity if your hands are curled into fists.
The energy meant for building and receiving gets completely hijacked by scanning, defending, and preparing for a disappointment that hasn't even happened yet.
That perfectly explains why this is so dangerous to our individual lives. Because trust acts like oxygen. When the outside air feels polluted by all this institutional failure, we accidentally start holding our breath in our private lives.
Yes, we bring it home with us.
The distrust becomes highly contagious.
It creates a psychological phenomenon of generalizing betrayal. The brain is an association machine.
Okay.
One wound bleeds into everything else. You see one misleading headline and your brain logs the shortcut. All media lies.
It just generalizes it to save time.
Exactly. You experience one disappointing leader and the narrative solidifies. All institutions are corrupt. You go through one really painful breakup and suddenly the lens is people always leave.
Yeah.
And most tragically, you make one bad decision and you conclude, I cannot trust myself.
Let's ground this in the biology, because there is a very deep evolutionary reason we do this. Let's look at Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory.
I love polyvagal theory.
It's so foundational. The beginner-friendly version of this is profound. Our autonomic nervous system is constantly running a background process called neuroception.
Always scanning.
It's scanning the environment way below our conscious awareness, looking for cues of safety or danger.
And we are heavily, heavily biased toward the danger cues.
Exactly. Our brains are built to prioritize threat detection because of evolutionary math. Think about it. If our ancestors missed a cue for an opportunity, say, they didn't notice a bush full of berries, they just missed lunch.
Bummer, but they live.
Right. But if they missed a cue for a threat, a rustle in the grass that turned out to be a predator, they were lunch.
Game over.
The cost of a false positive is low, but the cost of a false negative is death.
So when you are living in the trust recession, your nervous system is essentially biased toward the negative to keep you alive. Distrust feels like intelligence because it gives us the illusion of control.
It's like having a smoke detector in your house that you refuse to turn off, even when you're just making toast, just in case there's a real fire.
That is a perfect analogy. You think you're being safe. But living in permanent suspicion does not actually create clarity. It creates chronic vigilance.
And that burns you out.
Completely. When your brain perceives constant threat, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. You are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. And here is the kicker. When you are in that state, your social engagement system literally shuts down.
The ventral vagal complex, right?
Yes. The part of you that connects, creates, empathizes, and plays. Biology dictates that you cannot heal, digest, or deeply connect while you are bracing for an attack.
So how do we function then? If blind trust is genuinely dangerous in a world of misinformation, but chronic distrust destroys our health and our potential, what is the middle ground?
The middle ground is the vital distinction between distrust and discernment, and we really need to parse this carefully.
Let's break it down.
Distrust is a blanket statement. It says, nothing is safe. It is a reaction driven by the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. Discernment, on the other hand, is an action of the prefrontal cortex, the executive functioning center.
So it's intentional.
Very intentional. Discernment says, I can pause, I can observe, I can verify the data, and then I can choose wisely. Distrust contracts your energy. Discernment clarifies it.
I want you, the listener, to actually feel the biological difference between these two states right now. If you're listening, unless you're driving, just let your eyes soften for a second.
Just take a slow breath.
I want you to say 2 phrases in your mind and feel the feedback loop in your own body. First, tell yourself, nothing is safe. I can't trust anyone.
Just notice what your shoulders do.
Notice what your stomach does.
For most people, the shoulders immediately hike up toward the ears, the stomach tightens up, the breath becomes shallow and stays right up in the upper chest. It feels restrictive, maybe even a little cold.
Now take another deep breath. Let it out slowly and tell yourself, I can pause, I can observe, I can choose wisely.
Feel the difference.
The physical difference is night and day. That second statement has space in it. It returns agency to you. You aren't being naive. You're still observing, but you aren't bracing for impact either.
Yeah.
You are grounded.
You're safe in your own body.
But staying grounded in that discernment is incredibly difficult right now. Because this constant state of vigilance we find ourselves in isn't just an accident of evolution. It is actively being trained and conditioned by the environments where we spend most of our attention.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to look at the collapse of shared reality driven by media and algorithms.
Which brings us to the insights from the Edelman 2026 Trust Barometer.
Right.
The data here highlights a deeply concerning architectural shift in society. Because the macro world feels so unreliable, people are retreating into smaller, highly insular circles of trust.
The echo chambers.
Exactly. We are becoming deeply hesitant to engage with anyone who differs from us in values, beliefs, or backgrounds. We are building digital and ideological fortresses around our specific information diets.
And the architecture of the internet actively financially rewards this retreat. Modern algorithms and the creator economy are not incentivized to provide nuance or shared understanding.
Not at all.
They are incentivized to capture attention. And what captures the human amygdala's attention faster than anything else? Outrage and tribal belonging. If you want a piece of content to go viral, you don't make it balanced. You make it terrifying or infuriating.
Add to that the findings from UNESCO, which reveal that a massive number of online influencers and content creators completely lack basic fact-checking training or editorial oversight.
Anyone with a ring light is suddenly an expert.
Exactly. So what you have is a flood of unverified noise, packaged as absolute urgent truth, delivered straight to our nervous systems dozens of times an hour.
But wait, let me interrupt for a second. The people making this content aren't usually sitting in a dark room plotting the destruction of human trust. They're just trying to get views. They're trying to build a brand.
No, you're entirely right. The intent often isn't malicious, but the neurological result on the consumer is exactly the same.
The damage is done?
Right. When every feed you scroll tells a completely different, highly emotionally charged story about reality, your nervous system eventually breaks under the cognitive load. It literally cannot process the conflicting data.
So it just gives up.
It stops asking the logical prefrontal cortex question, what is true? Because the truth is too exhausting to triangulate. Instead, the nervous system panics, regresses to survival mode, and starts asking a purely tribal question. Who is on my side?
Who is on my side? That shifts the entire paradigm.
It changes everything.
When you ask that question, distrust moves from being a protective mechanism to becoming an actual identity. You stop defining yourself by what you love or what you build, and you start defining yourself by what you don't believe and who you don't trust.
Exactly. I want to look at this through a historical lens, through a fable we all know, but I want to twist the angle a bit. Think about The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Classic.
We usually teach this to children with a very simple moral: don't lie, or people won't believe you when you tell the truth.
Right. It's a lesson about personal integrity.
But the deeper tragedy of that story wasn't just that the boy lied. The true tragedy was that the village lost its shared signal.
Oh, that's interesting.
Originally, the alarm meant something. It was a shared reality. When the bell rang, everyone knew what to do. But then the alarm was misused for attention, for a thrill, for engagement. And eventually, the connection between the signal and the truth was completely severed.
So if we map that onto today, when politicians exaggerate for political gain, when media sensationalizes for clicks, when corporations hide their mistakes to save stock prices, the alarm is ringing so constantly at such a deafening volume that people simply stop or responding.
And here is the tension, the real danger of the trust recession. The wolf still comes.
Yeah.
Life still happens. Real public health crises occur. Economic shifts happen. Climate realities set in. But after the currency of trust has been completely spent, truth has to fight its way back into the room.
Because no one believes the alarm anymore.
Exactly. We lose our collective ability to respond to actual reality because we are too busy debating if the alarm is just another algorithmically generated trick.
It's exhausting. My chest feels tight just mapping out how pervasive it is. And it is so easy to sit here and point fingers at the media or the algorithms or the institutions.
Oh, it's the easiest thing in the world.
But what's truly fascinating, and honestly the most painful part of the trust recession, is when this external noise breaches our own defenses and overrides our own internal compass. When we stop trusting ourselves.
I think we have all experienced that specific flavor of self-betrayal.
I know you have a very visceral story about this exact phenomena, about losing that inner signal.
I do, and it's a memory I have to actively work with whenever I catch myself spiraling into doubt.
Take us there. What happened?
So, a few years ago, I was facing a major life crossroads, specifically regarding my career. I had a very stable, highly respectable path right in front of me. And I also had a wildly uncertain, highly creative path calling to me.
The classic dilemma.
Right. And initially, my body, my gut, my internal signal was so clear. Every single time I thought about the creative path, my chest opened up. I felt light. I felt a sense of profound rightness, even though it completely lacked guarantees.
You just knew.
I knew. But then I let the static set in.
The external noise. The village.
Yes, the village. I started asking for advice, and not just casual advice. I started desperately looking for the official answer. I had articles by industry experts predicting economic downturns. I talked to mentors who explicitly told me the smart adult play was safety.
They were offering their own fears.
Totally. I looked at what the crowd was doing, and slowly, systematically, I let their collective confidence completely drown out my own intuition. I convinced myself that my inner signal was just naive optimism, and that these external voices represented hard, cold reality.
Because they had data, and you just had a feeling.
Exactly. I couldn't put my intuition into a spreadsheet, so I discounted it. I took the safe route. I overrode my own body's wisdom to appease the expectations of others and to manufacture a sense of security.
How did that feel once you made the choice?
The realization of the mistake was a slow burn. It wasn't an immediate dramatic crash. It was this creeping, daily physical sensation of wearing a coat that was 2 sizes too small.
Well, that sounds awful.
It was exhausting. I was incredibly irritable all the time. My sleep was wrecked. I knew on a cellular level that I had betrayed myself. I had outsourced my intuition because someone else's certainty was louder than my own quiet knowing.
That phrase, outsourcing your intuition, is devastating. Because we do it to avoid the responsibility of trusting ourselves. If the expert is wrong, we can blame the expert. We can say, well, I followed the advice. But if we follow our own gut and we are wrong, we have to face ourselves.
Yes. It's an avoidance of self-accountability.
So what was the turning point for you?
The turning point was a literal physical breaking point. I was sitting in a corporate meeting that I deeply did not want to be in. We were discussing a project I did not care about at all, and I felt a wave of actual physical nausea wash over me.
Your body just said no.
My body was literally rejecting the reality I had forced it into. It was screaming, "We do not belong here." And in that exact moment, sitting at that huge mahogany conference table, looking up at the fluorescent lights, I decided I was done. I promised myself I would never again let the volume of the crowd dictate the direction of my life.
You took the power back.
I had to. I had to learn the hard way that you cannot borrow someone else's trust in the world. You have to cultivate your own.
I want to hold up a mirror to you, the listener, right now. Think about your life as it is today. The decisions you are weighing, the relationships you are navigating. Where are you doing this right now? Where are you ignoring your own knowing because someone else's confidence is louder?
Where are you outsourcing your intuition?
Just let that sit for a second.
You don't have to fix it today. Just notice the physical sensation of recognizing it.
So once we recognize how we abandon our inner signals, how do we fix it? How do we untangle the wires? And we need a practical way to debug our system. We need to be able to tell the difference between our fear and our true intuition.
Yes. Let's look at the science and the spirit of what we call manifestation debug mode.
I love debug mode.
Let's start with the science, specifically Albert Bandura's psychological concept of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is essentially your belief in your own capacity to execute the behaviors necessary to produce specific performance attainments.
Let's put that in beginner terms.
In simpler terms, it's your baseline trust in your own competence and resilience. Bandura's research showed that this kind of self-trust radically reduces cognitive load.
Let's define cognitive load for the listener, because it's a vital concept here. Cognitive load is essentially the amount of working memory your brain is using at any given time. It's like the RAM on your computer.
Exactly. When we trust systems, or more importantly, when we trust ourselves, our brain doesn't have to reevaluate every tiny micro decision from scratch.
Because that would take forever.
Right. If you have high self-efficacy, if you trust your ability to handle failure, you don't spend 3 weeks agonizing over sending a pitch email. You just send it, knowing that if they say no, you will survive. The trust acts as a neurological shortcut, freeing up massive amounts of mental RAM to actually do the creative, joyous work of living.
And if we bridge this to the spiritual or energetic side, trust is the bridge between intention and receiving. You set an intention for your life, you take aligned action, and then you must allow space for life to respond. You have to let the process happen.
And this is where the trust recession completely short-circuits people.
It really is. The best analogy I can think of for how distrust ruins manifestation is gardening.
Okay, paint the picture.
Imagine you want to grow a tomato plant. You
Yeah.
plant a seed in the soil, you water it, you make sure it has sunlight. But because you are operating in a state of chronic distrust, because your nervous system demands immediate proof that things are working, you go out into the garden every single day, and you dig up the seed to check if the roots are growing.
Oh, that is such a visceral image. You're killing it by checking on it.
Exactly. By constantly checking, forcing, over-explaining, and demanding proof, you are interrupting the organic process of growth. You are pulling the roots out before they can catch hold. You keep disturbing the soil of your own life because you don't trust the unseen process.
So how do we stop digging up the seed? This requires real-time self-inquiry. We need to be able to pause in the moment when the urge to check or control arises and diagnose what is actually driving us.
We have a series of guided pauses for you, the listener, to try right now. Think of that one area of your life where you feel guarded, the one you identified a few minutes ago. Keep it in your mind.
Get it clear.
I'm going to ask a series of questions. I want you to just listen and let your body answer. You don't need to overthink it with your prefrontal cortex. Just feel the resonance.
Okay.
Am I responding to present evidence, or am I reacting to an old wound?
Just breathe into that. Am I protecting my peace, or am I just protecting my fear?
Am I verifying facts, or am I rehearsing disappointment?
Those questions are designed to cut right through the static, because the core takeaway you need to remember is this. Your intuition usually gives a signal. Anxiety usually demands a trial.
Unpack that a little more. The difference between a signal and a trial.
Well, intuition is a quiet, grounded yes or no. It is a subtle pull or a clear stop sign. It doesn't need to justify itself with 50 PowerPoint slides.
Right. It just is.
Anxiety, on the other hand, is a frantic lawyer pacing the courtroom of your mind. It demands endless evidence, cross-examinations, worst-case scenario planning, and constant reassurance. If your mind is running a trial, it's usually anxiety. If it's a quiet knowing, it's intuition.
Okay, let's move into actionable steps. We know the anatomy of the problem. We know the biological cost. But we can't fix the whole world's trust recession today.
No, we aren't going to solve the Edelman barometer stats by the end of this deep dive.
But we can actively rebuild our own trust architecture, starting from the ground up. We are going to look at this in 3 micro shifts, 3 layers of rebuilding trust.
Layer 1 is the foundation. It is the most important. Rebuilding self-trust. And this is done through daily habits. We often have this misconception that trust is built in these grand, dramatic moments of crisis, like a movie climax.
Like saving someone from a burning building.
Right. But self-trust grows when your inner self sees that your outer self actually follows through on the mundane, boring things. You have to prove to your nervous system that you are a reliable caretaker of your own body.
And we have 3 specific, bite-sized daily habits for this. Number 1, drink the water when you say you will.
So basic, but so huge.
It sounds almost too simple, maybe even silly, but it signals basic physiological reliability to your brain. When you feel thirsty and you think, I should get a glass of water, but then you sit there for another hour answering emails, you're micro-betraying your body's signal.
Biologically, when you ignore hydration, your blood volume drops, your heart rate increases slightly to compensate, and your brain interprets that physiological stress as a low-grade threat.
Get up, drink the water. Prove you respond to your own needs.
Habit number 2. Stop scrolling when your body says enough.
Oh, this one is tough.
It's so tough, but you know that exact moment. Your eyes feel gritty, your posture is slumped, your brain feels fuzzy, and a quiet inner voice says, put the phone down. And then you swipe again.
Yep, do one more video.
Honor that boundary. Putting the phone down exactly when you feel that signal teaches your nervous system that you value your own physical limits over the algorithmic pull of a machine.
Habit number 3, pause before saying yes. When someone asks you for a favor or a commitment or an invitation, do not answer immediately.
Just wait.
Take a breath. Say, let me check my schedule and get back to you. This tiny 3-second pause signals to your subconscious that you do not abandon yourself just to please others. You are giving your intuition time to catch up with the request.
Exactly. From a nervous system perspective, why are these tiny actions so powerful? Because they are profoundly regulating. They physically shift your body from sympathetic vigilance back to parasympathetic safety.
You're proving you are safe.
You are demonstrating in real time, through undeniable physical action, that you are safe in your own hands. If you can trust yourself to drink the water, you can eventually trust yourself to navigate the career change.
Which perfectly sets up layer 2, rebuilding relational trust. For this, we turn to the incredible research of Dr. John Gottman and the Gottman Institute.
The master of relationship research.
He is arguably the pioneer in the study of what makes relationships succeed or fail. His research shows us that relational trust is not built on grand, sweeping promises like, "I will never, ever hurt you."
Because that's a lie.
We are human. We will inadvertently hurt each other. Trust is built on repeated evidence, consistency in the small sliding door moments, and crucially, the willingness to repair after a rupture.
Repair is the entire ballgame. Distrust says that a rupture, a fight, a misunderstanding, a letdown is the end of the line. It's proof that the person is fundamentally bad or unsafe.
Right. It validates the suspicion.
But healthy relational trust, grounded in a regulated nervous system, recognizes that ruptures are inevitable. The trust isn't that you won't fall off the bike. The trust is that you will help each other put the chain back on. It's the repeated experience of coming back together and saying, "We messed up, but we came back to the table."
And then we have layer 3, rebuilding information trust. This is how we navigate the media and the algorithms we talked about earlier. We need to implement a strict trust but verify practice.
Yes. Slow down. When you see a headline, a viral video, or a post that makes your blood boil, when you feel that immediate spike of adrenaline, do not hit share, do not comment.
Step away from the keyboard.
Check the primary source. Pause. Ask yourself a very clinical prefrontal cortex question. What emotion is this piece of media trying to sell, protect, or amplify?
Because usually if it is trying to make you outrage, it is literally selling your attention to an advertiser. By asking that question, you step out of the emotional manipulation and back into your own discernment.
It's taking back the steering wheel.
All right, now that we deeply understand the mechanics of trust, the polyvagal theory, the self-efficacy, the cognitive load we need to move this knowledge out of the intellect, knowing it isn't enough, we have to anchor it directly into the body.
It's time for our guided visualization. We call this somatic journey the signal tower.
I invite you, the listener, to shift your posture. If you're driving or walking, just listen. Keep your eyes open, but let your breath deepen. If you are at home or somewhere still, let your body settle completely.
Soften your shoulders, drop them away from your ears.
Unclench your jaw. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Notice if you're holding tension in your stomach and just let the belly expand. You are safe in this moment.
I want you to imagine a landscape. You are standing in an immense open field at twilight. The air around you is filled with a thick, heavy, damp fog. And within this fog, there's a landscape of constant static. It's filled with overlapping, exhausting voices.
You can hear fragments of angry news headlines buzzing like flies. You hear echoes of old arguments with friends or partners. You hear the sharp, critical voice of your own inner doubts. Did I make a mistake? Are they lying to me? What if it all falls apart? The voices are competing, pulling your attention in a dozen different directions at once.
Simply notice how tired your physical body feels standing in the static. Notice the immense weight of trying to filter all of this noise at once. Feel the exhaustion in your bones. It is exhausting to live in the fog of distrust.
But now as you look through the mist, you see something in the distance. It is a faint, steady, warm golden light. It isn't flashing or frantic, it is calm. It is a signal tower, and it has always been there, waiting for you.
Begin to walk toward it. Step by step, feel the solid, damp ground beneath your feet. And as you walk closer to the golden light, notice how the voices in the fog begin to fade. The static turns into a low hum, and then as you step closer, into profound silence. You are walking away from the noise and returning to your own signal.
You reach the heavy, ancient wooden door of the tower. You push it open and step inside. The air in here is warm and clear. It is deeply quiet, safe. You walk up a beautiful spiral staircase, ascending higher and higher, leaving the fog completely below you.
You step into a circular room at the very top of the tower. In the center of this room is a sturdy oak table holding 4 objects. Look closely at them.
The first is a lit candle. This represents your intuition, the quiet, persistent flame that focuses your internal system, the yes or no that knows your truth.
The second is a heavy brass compass. This represents your discernment, your prefrontal cortex's ability to navigate facts and reality without panic or bias.
The third is a weathered, leather-bound journal. This represents your lived experience, the neurological proof in your hippocampus of all the times you have survived, adapted, and grown through difficult things.
The fourth is a clear glass of cool water. This represents regulation, the physiological reset your nervous system needs to return to safety.
Without overthinking it, ask yourself, which of these 4 objects do I need the most right now in my life? Intuition, discernment, lived experience, or regulation? Intuitively choose one and imagine holding it in your hands, feeling its weight, its texture, and its purpose.
Now, step up to the massive glass window of the tower. Below the window is a brass control panel with a single heavy dial. Look at where the dial is currently stuck. It might be pointing to panic or outrage or people-pleasing. It's okay that it was there. It was trying to protect you.
But now, mentally reach out and grab the dial. Feel the cool metal. Take a deep, slow breath in. As you exhale, physically turn the dial toward evidence.
Turn it again, feeling the mechanical click toward calm.
Turn it again toward integrity.
And finally, with one more deep breath, turn the dial all the way to self-trust. Feel it lock into place.
Look out the window at the landscape of your life. The fog has cleared. Bring to mind one specific area where you have been struggling with trust. A relationship, a career move, a health decision. Looking at it from this high, quiet, regulated tower of self-trust, ask yourself, what is the next trustworthy step?
Just one step, not the whole 10-year plan. Maybe it's sending a text to repair a rift. Maybe it's closing a social media app for the night. Maybe it's taking a walk to physically process cortisol. See that single step clearly.
Hold that step in your mind and repeat this mantra silently to yourself. I return to my signal. I trust myself to pause. I trust myself to listen.
Take one final deep breath in, filling your belly, your chest, and let it out with a sigh. When you are ready, bring your awareness back to the room you are in. Wiggle your fingers and toes.
That is a somatic journey you can take whenever the noise gets too loud. Let's bring all of this together and recap the massive territory we've covered today.
We covered a lot.
We really did. We started by exploring the trust recession, this cultural withdrawal of confidence that acts like a smog over our nervous systems. We looked at the data, the 28% media trust, the 17% government trust, and we explored how that macro-level failure bleeds into our micro-level behaviors, causing us to generalize betrayal.
We learned that distrust blocks connection and manifestation because it forces our energy into a defensive crouch, programming our reticular activating system to only see threats. We looked at polyvagal theory and how our brains prioritize danger, and we contrasted that with Bandura's self-efficacy, showing how trust actually reduces cognitive load and frees up mental RAM.
We distinguish between distrust, which is a fear-based contraction that says nothing is safe, and discernment, which is an executive function clarity that says I can pause, verify, and choose.
And we mapped out a plan to rebuild trust in 3 actionable layers.
Yeah.
Self-trust through tiny kept promises like drinking water and pausing, relational trust through Gottman's concept of inevitable repair, and informational trust by slowing down and questioning emotional manipulation.
The distilled takeaway from all of this psychology, biology, and data is this. You do not have to trust everything, and you certainly do not have to trust everyone. You simply have to keep rebuilding the kind of trust that lets you live open, wise, grounded, and free.
Yes. Now, if you want to explore the macro-societal side of this topic further, we highly recommend a specific companion resource from Spotify. It's an episode of The Ezra Klein Show titled, "This Conservative Thinks America's Institutions Earned Their Distrust."
And just a strict reminder regarding our impartiality here,
Right.
we're recommending this as a fascinating deep dive into the collapse of institutional trust and why public life feels so fractured. We are absolutely not endorsing the specific political viewpoints within the discussion.
Right. We offer it impartially as a really thoughtful exploration of how major systems have failed to earn confidence. It pairs perfectly with our conversation today on media and institutional data.
So here is your call to action for the week. Choose one area of your life where distrust is actively draining your energy. Instead of forcing yourself to blindly trust which doesn't work, simply practice clean discernment. Tune the dial to evidence and take one grounded, trustworthy step.
And we also strongly encourage you to subscribe to the Vibe Letter, where we'll be sharing specific journaling prompts and a written trust calibration practice to help you deeply integrate everything we've talked about today.
Thank you for navigating this deep dive with me today. It is heavy, complex material, but I always leave these conversations feeling so much lighter and more aligned.
I feel the exact same way. It's always a profound privilege to share the space and unpack these vital ideas together.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. Remember my desk drawer from the beginning of our deep dive.
The vintage granola bar.
The broken pens, the expired granola bar, yeah. We hold on to those useless things because we are afraid of lacking what we need in the future. We hold on to our distrust for the exact same reason. But the trust recession will not be healed by blind faith, and it certainly won't be healed by holding on to our cynicism like an old charging cable.
That's powerful.
It begins to heal when we become people who can admit when trust has been broken, look at the mess clearly, and still relentlessly believe that repair is possible.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Keep your signal clear, practice discernment, and we'll meet you back here next time.